Dzień dobry Państwu. Dzisiaj Galeria BlackWall Gallery of Photography ma zaszczyt i przyjemność gościć jednego z najwybitniejszych fotografików litewskich pochodzącego z miejscowości Kowno, Kaunas, Gintarasa Česonisa. Gintaras zaprezentuje w naszej galerii swoją wystawę. Jest to jeden jego z ostatnich projektów dedykowany miastu Kowno, w której przedstawia unikalną architekturę pochodzącą z okresu pierwszego międzywojnia, w której pokazuje architekturę modernistyczną, a osoby, które przyjdą na wystawę, będą chciały zobaczyć, pewnie dopatrzą się wielu podobieństw do modernistycznej architektury Gdyni, która powstawała w tym samym okresie. Dear Gintaras, I would like to ask a few questions because your photography is impressive and you are experienced photographer. And maybe in the beginning you can say a few words about the way to photography, because people are always very interested how it happened that a young man decided to perform a unique job, fantastic job, but not for everyone is such a job possible. And how it happened that you are an artist photographer?
It's a long story, a long way to photography. I was a teenager. I lost my father pretty young. I was 12 years old and my father passed away. So my teenager times were not easy. And seeing me struggling a lot, my older sister said, I read an article in the newspaper that there is a photography school that starts new year in September. Maybe you want to try. And I said, photography? Why not? And after a few days in the school, I understood that this is something created for myself, for me, and from very first moment I really fell in love. I think this is the wonderful media for me to that is helping a lot for me from teenager times until now to understand the world, to remember the world, to remember what was happening through decades already. And really sometimes I agree with saying that something that was not photographed, maybe it was not happening at all. So this is something also as a proof of very important moments in our lives that might be not necessarily the anniversaries, big celebrations, just daily life moments that really are so important.
So practically you recognize that photography is very important because sometimes watching old photography, we watch documents, and then what we can put on the photography, like photographers, it could stay forever. So the understanding of the important part which played this medium, photography, was the base of your interest for photography.
Yes, exactly. The photography is also a media that can write a history in many different senses. But first of all, our personal history or our personal story of our life. And this is why photography was created, I think, just to remember, not to forget. The problem maybe with digital photography, the photographers using smartphones. The problem is that now we do not remember things. We own moments. We don't need to remember photographs we were doing in our analog cameras for 36 poses to remember what is.
This is like an inflation of photography and video, because last time I find information that on our Earth there are 8 billion people living on our Earth, but 6 billion people own smartphone. So we have 6 billion people photographing and filming every day. They put it on the social media. Sometimes they transfer it to the disk, but mostly all those photographies collapsed and they will be lost because when smartphone collapse, then no more picture.
It is like a huge trash hills, you know?
Yes.
Because we are making more and more billions of new images, and so many images were never looked at for the second time. Only when it was photographed, we see it on our screen and we can forget it because we already own it. But we don't need to own images, we need to remember them. This is the key thing of photography. I think this makes eternity, and this is eternity of photography.
I am digital, it's mostly photographers now, and I prefer to paint my best picture photography because this is my idea, my personal point of view. If we can paint picture, this is like a liberty, this picture from the slavery, because digital world is a lot of slaves. The digital photography depends on the technologies, electrical power and everything. And if we paint photography on paper, so when the last electrical generator stop, so from the sun set to the sunrise to the sunset, we can see the picture based on our sun. So it is like a free photography. Painted photography is for me free. Digital photography is like a slave photography because it depends on so many factors that it's difficult to imagine. But another way, when you decide that the photography is the most important job or idea in your life, what are you doing? You are studying, you are educated. Maybe a few words you can say about your way in education in photography.
Yes, so I finished photography school that was part of famous Lithuanian Photographers Union. This is the idea of big, great masters of Lithuanian photography.
Like the same in Poland,
that they needed to give the experience they had for the new generation. So I was lucky to be that younger generation at some point. And I wanted to study after the school photography, but it was not yet possible. So I studied art history for my bachelor. But already during my bachelor studies, I found another passion in my life. It was architecture. So my bachelor diploma work was already connected with architecture. I was, with the help of my camera with photography, I was trying to make a research how important was Kowna's fortress for Kowna's development, how it affected urban development of the city. Kowna's fortress was built in the end of 19th century to defend possible German attack. They were building the fortress for 33 years, and they lost the fortress in 11 days. So this is absurd, huh? Why we need to invest that much money, and that so many people has to die to build structures that can be destroyed in such a short time. So this is still actual at the moment for the conflicts happening right now in Europe. So later I studied architecture for my master, but I thought, I'm too much in architecture. Now I need to come back to photography. So I found myself and my classmate Mindaugas Kavaliauskas, we found a way to study in photography in France, in Arles.
Yes, that's a very important place because of the festival, which took
It
place.
used to be one of 2 or 3 most important photography schools.
Capital of
in
photography, one of the
Europe.
capitals.
Exactly. So this was very important a year in my career. So and after my studies in art, I came back, finished my master in architecture, and then started working as a photographer. But I wanted to express myself in more in art field, so I started working for Kowna's Photography Gallery. Parallelly, also teaching photography in art academy, but main job in photography gallery, and that was another special experience, because then I started working not only with my own photography but also with my colleagues, with photographs, so publishing, editing books, curating. So
This is like managing
Yeah,
photography and
counting,
media related to photography, like books. And how many years you are working with your gallery?
since 2009, so 15, 16 years, a little too long already, but but I really love this work. I think this is so important because photography gallery is kind of like a church, huh? It's for photographers, because this is the place where they can show their work. They can invite people to see the work. This is the gates to communicate what they did. So photography gallery served a lot for local community to be seen, but also to be seen not only in Lithuania but also elsewhere. So we were quite active internationally. We had a lot of exchanges. Just for example, when Lithuania was the chairman of European Parliament,
Yes.
so we made 22 different exhibitions all over Europe in 1 year. 22, so it's a lot. I think it's a lot. Maybe we were younger.
About 1 month, so every 2 weeks.
Yes,
exhibition.
it was really a very intense year. As we say, some things you can do only once.
Yes.
You cannot repeat it. So, but that was the year, and we continue representing Lithuanian photography all around the world.
Lithuanian photography is recognized in so many countries in Europe. This is a very special photography. I think mostly social photography, showing people, but at the same, your photography is different because you as an architecture, you show architecture of Kaunas, and this architecture is very, very special. And maybe you can see something about choosing the buildings, the places, and maybe something you can say about the buildings when they were built, and what was inside the buildings in the beginning, and maybe and later up to our time. Because the history of architectural building is sometimes very special and interesting.
Kaunas is a very special spot for modernist architecture because the capital, Kaunas became capital between the wars suddenly, without a note, without preparation. We had to build a new city from almost ground zero. So all most important institutions had to have their new buildings, banks, schools, offices, buildings.
So it was after the First World War.
It was just after the First World War when Vilnius, we lost Vilnius as our ancient capital. So we had to build a new capital. And but during Soviet times, it was so much neglected and hidden We grew up in this wonderful city, modernist city, but we never knew how to value it. And I remember that I was studying in the school that it was situated in modernist building. I had 3 or 4 classmates that were living in beautiful modernist villas around, but I never thought about it as a value. And it was, I think, only 2013 that I really discovered that there was something special. I was invited by one Lithuanian architect to do something together, to discover together the modernist city. So modernist buildings were existing since 30s, but we discovered them only like 10, 15 years ago.
I think that for the generation next, for the young people, saying about modern architecture that is almost 100 years old, it is a quite interesting point of view, because modern, now people recognize maybe modern is virtual network, computers and other, but to say modern architecture, which is at least 100 years old, this is quite interesting.
Yes, but modern,
historically, of course.
Yes, you are right. I think, but modernist is also meant that it's a new way of architecture, new way of thinking,
comparing with the past,
with a lot of optimism, with a lot of belief that things can be different and can change the world. And this was very important period in Lithuanian history.
With new technologies, because in the modern architecture the same was Bauhaus in Germany, but this modern architecture was built different. There are new technologies, new iron, new concrete, other, and then based on the new invention, it was possible to build so beautiful architecture, buildings.
Exactly, and but coming back to photography, what is wonderful, photography served again as the media that helped to realize this phenomena in Kaunas for other people, because you can walk in the city, but you don't see the buildings. You need sometimes photography to recognize, to research, and suddenly to start seeing, not only watching, but start seeing that there are so many beautiful surfaces I was always passing by, but I never saw them. So the first exhibition, I think it was changing everything. Yeah, people suddenly open their eyes and they say that, oh, this was always been so close to me, but I never realized it has value. So photography made this.
Okay, but from our contemporary point of view, when the 6 billion photographers and video makers with smartphone, and then are using the colorful technology to photographing and filming everything, and your photographies are black and white. Black and white is a fantastic idea for photography, like going back to the roots when the photography was only black and white, and why in this crazy color world you decided to show this modern architecture in black and white, not to show how it is like now in color.
Black and white photography is something very natural to me. I think this is how I was taught to see the world. So black and white photography was something I started with, and I never give up. I always continued in black and white photography. I do some color photographs, but more often I stay in black and white because of the language. It's much more pure. You can concentrate your view to specific subject.
That also, and then for me, black and white photographer and the architecture you present here, then we remember more the shapes of the buildings on the black and white photography than on the color, when the color is interesting, but we remember colors, but not the shapes of the buildings. Here, black and white, we remember the beautiful style and the beautiful architecture without this color which disturb the scene.
Yes, you're right. I think black and white photography in this case help the buildings to get back the respect. Because now you can imagine the city did change, did experience a big influence of different epochs already, and still experiencing a big pressure of economical things, money, and a lot of advertisement appearing even on the wonderful buildings, and it becomes sometimes too noisy. So black and white photography helps to keep the purity of the buildings, to stay with all the honor.
And finally, because Kaunas and Torunia, there are twin cities. Lithuania and Poland are very close, and the countries, they have a lot of common ideas, projects. And this is your first exhibition in Torunia, in our new gallery, the BlackWall Gallery of Photography. What you can say to the visitors, to the people from Torunia, and sometimes people from other cities in Poland, in short words about idea of your photography? I wanted to show Kaunas modern architecture because of.
I think it is something I'm really happy to share. I think this is something unique, and I think that this idea to travel with Kaunas modernist ideas all around Europe is good idea. It really works, and a lot of people enjoy it. But what I need to mention that some years ago, when we were dreaming about going elsewhere to show our work or to exhibit, we were always thinking about how to jump over Poland and go further, like Germany, France, Italy, United Kingdom.
Europe.
But we needed some years to realize that the best viewer, or the viewer that can understand our art, our photography, the best is Poland or Polish. I think this is something. Many reasons for that. I think so many years probably we spent together, and I think there are something in common. And so sharing our artworks to each other. That is a good idea, I think.
Thank you very much for the warm words. And then I am very happy that you find Poland and Torunia the place to show you photography. I think that it is on the beginning of our cooperation, and we can show show something in Kaunas, and the same, this is not the last year exhibition in Torunia. And thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for giving us this beautiful photography. And for the next time, maybe we can discuss more about photography with next exhibition we will doing together.
Thank you very much. Really looking forward.